For Athens, we have a training license that is valid until the end of the year. We were in collaboration with NTUA so they gave us the data. We had exactly the same process. We did a kind of a quality check, went a little bit back and forth with Yannis. The data, most of the data sets for attractions, for example, are for the municipal boundary, but the network is, as you see, larger because we need a buffer so that our network analysis is accurate. Why? Because, for example, if we care about a street that is right in the municipal border, we need to analyze it within a larger area. Because the municipal border is nothing. It's like it's a made-up boundary. It doesn't say anything about where the streets end. Okay, so that's now we have the non-motorized network. That means that motorways, highways are excluded from the analysis because these are not accessible to pedestrians. We used some basic attractions, and this we do for every city. Here, in discussion with NTUA, a relevant layer we added is the metro stations, the existing, but also the planned. So it is also what data sets are relevant for its time. So here you see network centrality. These are the different attractions, and you see them in the layers list. Sorry. Here. Yes, I will show you this one later, but like you read here, there is an interactive map where you can draw on the fly and then analyze the results. These are the analyses one can get. The different analyses I explained. Here you see the example of the existing metro stations, for example, accessibility to, so how far is it to the nearest metro station now? And then in the future. So you see, these are the different analyses. We check one by one, let's say when we do the demo. And what you see here is kind of the export. So you get a PDF that has the analysis, the title of the measure, and a simple description of what it is that is analyzed. This is again because the planners, they asked for an export that gives them the basic information to communicate or to give us a report. So there is a scale, there is a measure, and a short description of what this is. And of course, the legend, the colors, the basic things, I mean, one needs, right? Before, after. Again, when you have the existing situation and then you have an intervention, you can directly get before-after analysis to, again, in an easy way, be able to communicate the differences. So now I just played around a little bit. You see, this is the existing situation. And then I added some links here and there, and this is my after situation, for example. The same. So you can export up to 3 alternatives, let's say, in the same map. Again, here you can see I played around a little bit with the connections around the station area, and then you have the after situation. And you can also visualize the results in the whole city, but also in specific study areas that you choose. Yeah, and then, I mean, because another thing that in a design process, it is probable that you want to sketch a little bit before on paper or in AutoCAD or whatever you want. There is a way to draw, to bring this image, some kind of background image within the tool to have to trace on top of it, or an aerial photo and stuff like that. I will show you later, but just as a basic, yeah. That's it. Other questions? Oh, thank you. Okay, so what time do we start? 3? Is it 3? Half past 3. Do you have the tool? You can sit together. If you don't have a laptop, you can just group for the demo and then for the exercise. We'll see. What else? Do we need to prepare something else? You can take the, we can take the, yeah. So we take a break now. Yeah. Hello. Yes. Did you manage to install? Yeah. And we sent you a simple how-to. Did you, in a PDF. Later on, Yanis will share more learning material and stuff like that. So there is also a manual. I mean, you will see more things, but the how-to is this 2-pager. Okay, so you should all see this. Whoever, is there anyone who doesn't see it? Raise your hand. Evangelos will hover around you at the back to see if you have any problems. You can sit with Frixos. Ah, you have it. Okay, good. Okay, raise your hand if you don't see this. Hmm? If you don't. Okay, so everybody has it. Yes? Hmm? Okay, good. Okay, so now you see black screen. We just have to start a new project. So let me, yeah. So you see you have a blank page or file new. It has a very, as you see, it has a very limited, how do you say? I mean, a very few buttons. Toolbar, yes, a very limited toolbar. So you can just start new or click on this blank page. You see one option here is Athens non-motorized. It's like we said, the network of non-motorized, meaning all streets that are accessible to pedestrians, including those shared with cars, of course, so the general network. What is excluded is the highways, motorways, you know, the Kifissos, for example. I mean, the roads that are inaccessible. If we would have, we could have here also motorized, depends. So then you could choose. But now we have one option. As you see already here, you see a very basic description that helps a little bit if you have different choices. Non-motorized network excludes, blah, blah, blah. So you see already. So you open. And then you see the network of Athens appearing. You can zoom in and out using the mouse wheel or whatever. And in the side, on the right side, you see the layers that are included. You can play, I mean, you can switch on and off as you see the different layers, and then you see the points of attractions popping up. For example, you have schools, you have playground squares, what we said, current subway, metro stops and future, bus and trams, local markets, meaning it's a combination of retail, so commercial activities, but also restaurants, cafes, small services, meaning the shoemaker or the tailor. So these very basic daily services, along with the grocery store, supermarkets, restaurants, cafes, stuff like that. This we call local markets. You also have the buildings. As you see, the network, there is a layer that is called municipal boundary. This is good to know because as you see, the street network covers a larger area than the municipal border, and that is to make sure that the analysis, the network analysis of the streets is correct. Otherwise, the streets that would be close to the municipal border would appear disconnected. But as we said, the city is not an island. The administrative border is nothing, basically. It's a made-up legal boundary. So the network, to have an accurate network analysis, needs to cover a larger area than the study area. The study area, in our case, is the municipality. And then you see that the buildings and the other attractions cover the municipal border. So when we do accessibility analysis, for example, we only take into account the streets within the municipal border in terms of results. Because if we only have the schools within the municipality, we cannot draw conclusions for outside the municipality since we do not have the schools there. Okay, it makes sense, right? Okay, if you just switch off the attraction layers and we just keep the network, what we see is that I will switch off the buildings as well. You see also a background layer that is the railways. So the tracks, we will use this for the exercise as well. But I mean, it's a layer. It's good. It's good to have this layer on the background. But you also see some green circles. Can you do you understand what these are? So these are the points, we call them unlinks. These are the points of bridges or tunnels. Okay, so where you have a green circle, this means that the streets do not connect directly. This is very important when you want to do an accurate network analysis, especially if we would analyze the motorized network, because there you have these highways and then you have bridge and tunnel situations. It would be wrong to consider this as a connected streets, okay? And this is something to keep in mind. Also, I will show you now when we add streets. If you add a street that is actually a pedestrian bridge, for instance, you need to take this into account. I will show you. Okay, but this is the basic layers. And then if we want to see, okay, so this is the existing situation. This is as things are now without any interventions. Let's say, okay, we analyze the existing situation now, okay? And that means you have an analysis tool. Oh. What is happening with the mouse? Sorry, I cannot sync the mouse with the, okay. Oh. Here, you have the analysis tool, the button. If you click on that, what happens? Here I cannot. No. Άνοιξε το να πάρω το πηγή. Okay, so now it's switched off. Let's do it again. Είναι το Zoom τώρα που προσπαθώ εγώ να... Okay. Sorry, because we are connected to Zoom, it's a little bit, yeah. Anyway, so when you click the analysis button, you see all the available analysis here. Basically what I described before. So we have network centrality. You see them categorized in themes. Three angular betweenness scales, the very local scale, 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers. As you see, when I click on each one, you get a short description on the side that reminds you what this is, basically. Then we have build density, accessible FSI, accessible GSI, again with a short description, and the proximity, shortest distance to tram stops, shortest distance to local market. So how far is the nearest? Again, short description, and then the reach, accessible bus and tram stops within 500 meters, accessible local markets within 500 meters, and so on. So all the available analyses are here. You can select all of them if you want, or you can select some of them. Let's say that you can select all of them, and then you start. And then you see that the analyses are quite fast starting to complete. And then on the side, you have different layers with the analysis results. You can then switch on and off, basically. So you get a new window that is called map analysis. So we have map 1, you can save it as and give it a name. And then you have the analysis of this. So one window is the map where we will draw later. And the other one is the analysis results. So now it's done. As you see, it's quite fast. I don't know. It depends, of course, on the machine you have, the laptop you have, and so on. But it doesn't take much. And then you can switch and change the different analysis between the different analyses. Let me know. Do you see them? Is it done? Not yet. Okay. So let's give it a little bit more time. But for those who have, if you have finished, you can explore a little bit. So we have the, zoom in and out. We have the centrality analysis, for example, the different scales. But then also you have the shortest distance to current and future metro stations, distance to parks and green. What you see is also the legend here. So for instance, now I have shortest distance to parks and green. You have the legend that is also kind of an informative, predefined legend with the colors. And that means with red, you see the streets that have a park within 100 meters walking distance. And then the ones with blue have a park further than 3 kilometers, for example, okay? But beware, listen, look at that. So here, for example, that's why I said the informative results for the accessibility are within the municipal borders. Why? Because since parks, we don't have the parks in the data set outside the municipal border. When we see blue here, you see, it doesn't mean that these streets do not have a park in 500 meters walking distance. It means the data set that is included, this is only relevant for the municipal border, okay? So do not draw conclusions outside of the municipality, okay? When we have when there is the analysis, for instance, shortest distance to, let's say, metro stops, by default, the analysis layer includes the locations of the stops. You don't have to select this. This is automatically done. This is the future subway stops, for example. You see the change here. Again, the legend gives us in meters. So within 100 meters walking distance, within 250, and so on. If we see the schools, shortest distance to schools, again, you see how the streets, how close they are, and then you also see the point of the school in orange. Accessible FSI and accessible GSI, you see in red. I mean, you can recognize, of course, the highly dense parts of the city. And then again, you have the legend that is makes sense for this particular analysis. For centrality, and then for the accessibility, let's see, accessible local markets within 500 meters. The legend here actually gives, the number is how many. So when you see here 0, it means that they do not have any shop or restaurant or cafe within 500 meters walking distance. If you see 5 to 9, it means that they actually have 5 to 9 points, local markets points. Can be a grocery store, can be a cafe, can be a restaurant, doesn't matter, but it's 5. So the number there means actually how many, okay? But if we go to the centrality measures, because centrality is a relative measure, it's not something we count, okay? It's not 200 or it's a relative measure. We say this is more central than the other, right? It makes sense, right? Otherwise, we cannot judge what is more central than what. So there, the legend gives you percentages, if you see. So with red, you see the streets that on the city scale are the top 5% more central streets. And then in blue, you see the 25 lowest, for example. So we go from red to blue, more central to less central. And you see the results. You can recognize, of course, the center. You can recognize Patission. You can recognize these big arteries. And you can see some glimpses of Athinon, Ieraodos, and so on. But as you see, they are not red all the way. Why? Can you think? So these big streets here, these are Athinos, Petrourali, Kavalas. And in 3 kilometers, you see, they are not red all the way. I will help you. It's a bit complicated. Yes, you have an idea. Yes, say it. It doesn't matter. You are partly right, because Kifisu is missing, because we are looking at the pedestrian. The other thing is that these streets are only relevant, it has to do with what you said, in the larger scales. We're going into more regional scales. So, for example, if we go to 1 kilometer, they disappear completely, you see? Why? Because they don't have local connections. Think about Ieraodos, for example, and then you have Leonas and all of that. There are no side connections on the local scale. On the other hand, you see Patission, for instance. Patission is one of the streets that is very central in the global scale, in the city scale. But then you see 1 kilometer, It's also central. And I mean, you can see it because it has connections on the local scale, the neighborhood scale. Okay. And then you see here we see integration, and then you also see in the local integration, you see more local centers popping up. I recognize, for example, I grew up in Peristeri, for example. I see this popping up. There is a local center there. You see Pagrati, you see some local centers, neighborhood centers. What else? You see distance, shortest distance to local markets. Basically, the whole municipality is quite well covered. We know that. I mean, in Athens is a kind of a quite mixed use city, we would say, the municipality. If you would see the results for Gothenburg, you would see a completely different picture. Then you would, on local markets, you would only see in the center and in some local markets. There is not this kind of mixed use urban fabric that Athens has. Another reason why centrality, we use these percentages or high and low, is that what is central for Athens is not central. No, actually the other way around. If we see in Athens the centrality results, let's see here, and we see, oh, this is not central here. This is not very central. The same thing in Gothenburg would be considered highly central. Okay, so because if we say Athens has low density, for example, in Sepolia, let's say now, it's more dense than Gothenburg center. I am exaggerating, but just to see that centrality and density, these are relative measures. Okay, so we know that Athens in general is dense and mixed use in the municipality, at least. And there, I mean, you say, okay, so within this kind of highly dense area, what are the local variations? Because not all neighborhoods are equally dense or equally mixed use. Okay, but let's say, so this is the existing situation, and you have this. And let's say now we want to do, to change some things. So you can just save this map, give it a different name, so let's say future, no? So you have two tabs now in your workspace. One is called map 1, and the other one is the analysis. The map has the base layers, and the analysis window has the analysis results. Yes? You can save both of them and keep them, and then you have a different extension. For example, if we save map, and then when we save as, the extension you see is UC map. Okay, so I will just save it now and call this future. Save as, and you can also save the analysis, and then this extension would be UC analysis. Okay, UC analysis. So if you save the map, the base maps is UC map. If you save the analysis results, is UC analysis. You can open this layer, these files only if you have first open Urban Calculator. It's not like other software, for example, that you can click on a drawing and AutoCAD opens. Okay, first you open Urban Calculator and then you open the files. Okay, so I will also save this. I have this, okay. You can call existing. I will call this existing. And we need the existing situation because later on we do before after. So this is the existing situation, okay? Uh, Ready? Yes. Do you have a future map? We need a map that is not, that we will modify now. We will modify. So save it. Save the existing as it is. Who doesn't have a copy? It's a basic copy. We didn't, the existing situation, we didn't change it, but save it as because this we change now. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we can modify the network. All right. We can modify the network. So you have a pencil. You see a draw. You have a pencil there in the toolbar. It will be easier for you because of Zoom now I have a bit of a lagging thing. But if you see, you can start drawing. So basically, let's say now we'll just play around a little bit just to show you how to, and you can do the same. Then we do an exercise that makes sense. But let's say now I start to. You can start adding. Just click and where is my pencil here? Just draw no lines. You can just easily draw lines because it will, I mean, it snaps to the nearest intersection and so on. So you can just add, you can select, there is a lasso tool, you can select and delete one street or many streets and you can just delete. Now I demolished part of the city. So you see existing streets in black. Now I deleted some. So you see in gray what was there before. And the new streets you see as red. So I added some streets. You can add some. Now, what do you see popping up when you add new streets? What is popping up? You see these green circles popping up. Huh? So that means that you have to think, is it a bridge? If it's a bridge, you leave it there. Is it not a bridge? If then you have to link it. You have like a chain here. It's like it's not a chain. Well, how can a link? It's called link. So you press this button and then you press this the green circles to remove them. So to link the streets there, to make it a regular intersection. Hmm? So just do some, some basic changes. Just play around a little bit to see. And then the idea is that you can analyze this first, see the results. We'll do that. Or from the beginning, you can make an alternative scenario now. So start from the existing map, or based on this one, say, okay, maybe this is it, but maybe, I also want to test that. You save it again. Okay, but raise your hands if you don't have any. Are you ready to analyze? Yes? Yes? Okay. But then you can analyze as we did before. And now the future situation, what you did. I will do the same. Mm. Nothing. That means it's okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, if you deleted it, you have to redo it. Yeah. Um, are you analyzing? Yes. Did it finish? Almost. Huh? Okay. Uh, so we can synchronize the views now because now we have a before and then we have an after analysis. Yes, we analyze the existing situation. I have it here. And then we have the future situation. We have the same analysis, but now I see different things. If we see, okay, so this is, I like this view. So we can synchronize the two. And how to do that is this edit, copy viewport, and then you go to the existing analysis and you click edit, apply viewport. Okay, so then now we have the same zoom. You see, it's the same zoom, but a different analysis. Of course, I will just synchronize the analysis as well. Yeah. No, this will happen automatically when you export. But now, before we export, if you want to compare, before you export the PDFs, then yes, you should compare the same analysis. But what I mean is that now we synchronize the pan and the zoom. You see? Because now you can switch on and you can switch between the windows and have the same view. But let me, what I did though, because you see that in my existing analysis, I had switched on the buildings. Maybe you did it as well. For the future, I forgot to switch off the buildings. You can decide that if you want to see it or not. That's why. But then I can do it now. Have a run the existing situation without the buildings. Uh, no, but what you can, in any case, it's only the buildings you can switch on and off because the attraction layers will be exported, will be shown automatically. Yeah. No, exactly. Yes, yes, yes. Δεν πειράζει, εντάξει, ναι. Αλλά δεν το χρειαζόμαστε το Zoom τώρα. Ναι, έλατε. Να το σταματήσω. Θα το κάνω έτσι. Ωραία, άσε. Αν ξανά έχω θέμα, θα το κάνω. Εντάξει. Για πείτε μου πότε τέλεια. Έχετε τελειώσει με την ανάλυση. Οκ, τέλεια. Λοιπόν, τώρα, θα κάνουμε export. Λοιπόν, file export. Δώστε ένα όνομα. Ναι, sorry. Ναι, γιατί... λοιπόν, είπαμε θα κάνουμε synchronize. Τώρα, αυτό είναι μένα το future analysis. Και τώρα θα κάνω με τον ίδιο τρόπο, δηλαδή copy viewport και τη νέα ανάλυση που έκανα χωρίς τα κτίρια για να μπορούμε να συγκρίνουμε. Edit, apply. Okay. Ωραία, τώρα τα έχουμε κάνει synchronize τα view. Okay. Ωραία, οπότε τώρα export. Λοιπόν, τώρα βλέπετε ότι έχετε να επιλέξετε. Αυτό σημαίνει ότι καμιά φορά έχουμε όπως είπα στην αρχή, έχουμε existing και έχουμε σενάριο 1, σενάριο 2, 4, 5. Θα επιλέγουμε μέχρι 3, μπορούμε να κάνουμε export την ίδια στιγμή. Οπότε, εγώ τώρα θα επιλέξω το future και το 2 που έκανα που είναι το δικό μου το existing. Export. Λοιπόν, κάντε αυτό και θα δείτε τι θα αρχίσουν να βγαίνουν τώρα. Τα αποτελέσματα, εγώ έχω βάλει 2 αυτή τη στιγμή και μπορούμε να έχουμε 3. Βαγγέλη, δεν βλέπω... Οκ, εδώ είμαστε. Λοιπόν, τώρα, λογικά στο zoom που έχετε επιλέξει, βλέπετε όλες τις αναλύσεις before after. Έτσι δεν είναι? Yes.
That before you show the option of clicking to different tabs. Now that I'm going to export, it doesn't give the option for any tab choice. I did an export with one tab.
Because we only had one analysis window. Analysis. Yes, because we compare before after analysis. So you need at least one. If you had just but it was a map, an analysis. Yes. So you had, and then you decided to click on the only analysis, right? And then you got one window. Yes.
Now that I'm going to export again.
No, can you check? Yeah, because you should. If you have 2 analysis windows.
The previous analysis and the future analysis.
No, exactly. Or maybe you want to compare 2 scenarios. You just select this. Basically, you select which ones to have together on the PDF. Okay.
You have to check the same amount.
No, it's No, here you just compare the same map, the same analysis, but with different maps, meaning different design interventions that you have. Okay. It exports all maps. So here, if you get the PDF now, you should have around 20, you have all of them. So it comes automatically, everything you have analyzed. Yes. You just switch on, you see that the PDF has around 20 pages or so, right? Because it's all the analysis together. Hmm? How are you doing at the back? Yes, good. Now, depending on what changes you did in the beginning, in some analysis, you see bigger changes than in others. You see what I mean? Depending on of course, depending on the interventions, in some analysis, you see big changes on the before and after, and in other analysis, you don't actually, because it didn't affect that much. This is also a valid result. Because you do an intervention, you need to see, okay, do I have an impact? Do I change the centrality? Yes or no? But you also ask, okay, do I change the accessibility to schools? No, good. Okay, this is also a result of the analysis. Because that means that you get, because the idea is that you are in the sketching phase, then you get indications. Okay, do I need to go deep into the schools, for example? If you don't see any changes, maybe your plan does not affect accessibility to schools, then you leave it. Or you say, no, because I want to improve it and I don't. Then you go and then you continue. But if actually it's fine, and then you don't you don't do anything to decrease anything, accessibility, for example, to schools, then okay, good. So it gives you an indication on where you have to go deeper into the analysis. But exactly, but because now we just did the random things. But of course you have a design task, right? Yes, and we will do one task now, for example. I will give you a task because of course you need to have an idea, otherwise, and based on a target. What is the point of this? And also you need to understand the scale of interventions. What else do we? Another feature that you may find useful is to add. If we go back to the drawing board, let's say, what I said in the beginning, maybe you have a sketch, or maybe you want to bring an aerial photo if you don't know the city very well, and so on. So you can do that in the layers panel. You can add, you can click on this button of an image here, and then you can bring in a JPEG or a PNG or something like that. Where do we have it? Here. Yeah, for example, we just have a background image here, and this you can move and you can scale, and you can just put it up. But I mean, this is just an example. You might have a sketch, you might have you might want to assess a plan from the municipality. You can put it there on the background, edit, and run the analysis. No, you move it. Yeah, exactly. You move it and you drag it, and then this and that. And you see it as a new layer. I will switch it off. What else? Study areas. Yes. Yeah. So you have to be in the drawing board, not in the analysis. Okay. And then in the layers panel, you have this button here. It's an image with a plus. So add image layer, and then you have to find a JPEG or a PNG, an image format. You click it. It's empty because you don't have one. I mean, this is an image that you have. You save it somewhere. You see? Now we have it's not the images we do not give with it. Okay, but because it's something you might want a background to help you design. That's it. That's the purpose of it. Okay, one last functionality is this is called study areas. Let's say that, I mean, it's important, of course, always, all the analysis by default take into account the whole network. I mean, that's a basic methodological principle. Okay, everything is analyzed within the whole network. But sometimes, I will show you an example. Let's go to the existing situation. Here you see that the centrality on the city scale, so the integration in 3 kilometers, we get the basic understanding of how the centrality is kind of allocated, distributed in the whole city. But if we, for some reason, want to focus in this area around Patition, everything is red. So, it doesn't really, I mean, you don't see the local variations. And we don't want to do, we could do 1 kilometer, but then, as we said, this will give us the role, the centrality of the street in relation to its local context, in relation to its 1 kilometer radius. We see local variations. For example, you see it's evident. Some streets are more central than others. But I don't want to see this. I want to see in the Patition area, which street has the highest city scale centrality. And this does not help me because what I get here is that all streets have high centrality because they are compared to other neighborhoods. Okay, so to help me get these local variations, we have added a new functionality that's called study areas. And what we do is you have this like a magnifier button here. And when you click it, you see a new window popping up that is called study areas. And then I clicked this one that is like a magnifier glass, you see? It's called study areas. And then with a plus, we can add a study area. We can add many study areas. Let's say I will put now, whatever area, 1. Okay. And then I can add 2, 3 given names. And then, you start again with a basic window. And then you drag it and move it and scale it. And then select the study area you want. And now, once we did that, if I analyze again, I will just now keep the centrality analysis ticked. So if I analyze again, I will get the results on the city scale, on the whole city, but I will also get the results on the area. The numbers, the calculations are exactly the same. This is important to remember. It's just a visualization. Because what happens here is that, let's do it like that. look at that so you understand. You see, pay attention. This area is all red, okay? If I click just my area, what do I see? Patission and some other street, because in this study area, these are the most central in comparison to their neighbors here, okay? But the whole area is central, okay? Is this clear? It is very important to always, because one thing that it's not only, I mean, people who analyze and people who use it as planners, let's say this is a common mistake. The common mistake is this: just because you have been assigned to redesign a specific area, this is not an island again. I mean, you cannot analyze it in itself. Yeah, you have to analyze it in relation to the context every time. It's just a matter how you visualize in order to get informative images, let's say. But you cannot just cut it and design it and analyze it as if it was an island. Okay? Is this clear? And it's mostly, this is very relevant, especially for centrality results, because as we said, centrality is a relative measure. So we need really to see things in comparison to the other to understand. You see? Okay.
But isn't it similar to identifying the scale of analysis? For example, if you do the analysis on 500 meters, you get a sense of the local centrality, while if you do it on 5 kilometers, you get the region of centrality.
No, it's not that. Why? I will show this again. If you get let's say we see the full map, this is the city scale, so to say. Now you see it's all red. The area that I'm interested in is all red. That means all the streets have a high city scale centrality, but it doesn't help me understand within this neighborhood, Patission area, which one is the most central. The local scale analysis will not help me understand this, because the local scale analysis, which is this one, will tell me which street has the highest local centrality. But actually, I want to see which street has the highest global centrality. And then I need the study area. You see that, because look at the results here, for instance. This is city scale centrality. This is local scale centrality. And this is my study area, city scale centrality, but for this small neighborhood. And here is when I get the main street. Yeah? Good. These are local variations that, because you're more advanced, I mean, it's a kind of a betweenness, that betweenness might give you this linear variation. I think this is the basic things for the demo. You have the PDF, you have a 2-pager with the simple instructions. The task, I will give you a task so you can just sit and experiment a little bit. The task is, let me see where I have it. It's in the, okay, I will just describe it, doesn't matter. So you see in the map, we have given you the tracks. Map 2. You have a layer that's called the railway. So the task is to select 3 connections over the rail tracks. You can select the rail tracks that start from the Larissa station area going north, or you can select the Konstantinopoulos that is around Keramikos, Gazi. Okay? So the task is to create two, listen up, the task is to create two scenarios and just select 3 key connections over the tracks. Do you understand? The two scenarios can be from the beginning, you start with 2 scenarios, or it can be that you do one and then you modify based on the results. You do one scenario, you analyze, you see the results, and then you modify it a little bit. Yeah? But the 2 scenarios have to be kind of in the same area of intervention so that we can compare. Okay. A tip. You have to decide your strategy. The strategy here, what is the aim? Because let's say we know that the train tracks create barriers. For instance, we know that, for example, here you see there is a small, how do you say, if you see the local centrality, you see the impact of the rail tracks here, right? You see it here. You have areas of centrality, but once we go closer to the tracks, because they create a barrier, they disconnect the network. It's only a handful of streets that cross the tracks, Ayume, Letio, and I mean a couple others. That's why. So you see that you have neighborhoods here that are disconnected. You have Sepolia or Kolonos on one side, and you have the Patricia and what is called? Anyway, the Patricia area on the other side, but these are not, the neighborhoods are disconnected. Now, there can be different strategies on that. One is to select, because we have 3 connections, let's say. What is the strategy? Is it to connect main streets of 2 different neighborhoods to each other? So that means to create a strategic link. Is this a strategy? If we want, if the aim is to reconnect the disconnected neighborhoods, how do we do that? And we only have 3 links. That means we cannot connect all streets. So a strategy could be to connect the main streets, the streets that have the centers or the local centers. That could be one strategy. The other strategy could be that I want to connect everything to Patrision because this already has a potential of centrality and I want to connect everything else there. Another strategy would be, I don't care about any of that. The local centers are good. And I just want to connect the people living, like say, close to the rail tracks as much as I can. I mean, so there are different ways to go about this. But a good tip is always to connect things that have a potential, that are central. Because why? Because if you connect 2 things that are disconnected, you will not have a big impact. But if you connect 2 things that are already connected, you will have a huge impact. Because the aim of the intervention is not only to connect A to B, is to spread the impact, right? So to have an intervention and an investment that has contextual effects, systemic effects. It does not only have an effect on the local, on the specific location, but it benefits the city in a larger extent. Okay, good.
But first I will introduce you, let's say, 2 kind of design exercises that can help you to have something to work with when you are testing the tool. And the first one we thought was interesting is to look into the linear park in Nicosia. Here we see the map of Nicosia, the old part, and here you see the linear park. You see, in very light green. And the idea is that in the exercise, you try to make the linear park a central place to meet for everybody in Nicosia. So that means we would like to have, let's say, a lot of accessibility to the green area. We ideally see a lot of streets passing over or through that have high between the centrality and high integration. So that's kind of so you always, if you have the question, you have to sort of translate them. Okay, but what does that mean in terms of centrality, density? Maybe we would like to see, let's say, higher density even surrounding the green park. But let's focus on the street network. So do we need many bridges? Do we have to add bridges to guarantee a high integration and access? Which areas have most potential to become, let's say, the urban hub, instead of having, let's say, like we conventionally or traditionally think of, that the square should be a hard surface area. Maybe the green area in this case should be the core of the city. So how do we achieve that? If that would be the aim, how do we achieve it? And of course, adding many bridges will change the centrality a lot. But then the next question comes, which bridges should we prioritize to create the most impact? We can remove bridges again, and maybe it still works very well. So can we make an economic or feasible solution that has maybe only 2 bridges instead of 20 and still does a good job? So also that, let's say, you can first add a lot and see what the impact is, and then you can start removing and see, okay, does it hold, let's say, the centrality that I wanted to achieve, for instance, around a part of the park. So that's the first exercise I thought you could work with. And then you see here, I played already a bit, and I will show you the results of doing that. In red lines, you see the streets that I added. And I just I don't know Nicosia so well. I don't know what is possible, what is not possible. So I really played around, just to be clear about this. So you add these red streets, and then you rerun the analysis, and then you can look at the results. I have done that. I can show you later, but I don't want to do that. I show it now because then, I mean, you should sort of test yourself a little bit. The second exercise is a very different one. So here you have to do interventions and change the street network. In the other exercise, we thought it was interesting to look into, there is an idea, maybe Nadia can say a little bit more about that the campus area, where Nadia and her team is located currently, which is in the south, let's say the lower part here, the lower circled area. It's an idea to relocate that to the old city center. And then the question you could ask is, well, how well integrated is actually the current campus area in terms of its centrality, in terms of the density surrounding it, and how well integrated is the new proposed campus position? How easy is it to navigate to the current and the new campus by car, on foot, on public transport? So all these questions you can actually sort of analyze without doing changes. You just look at the current situation and run the analysis and try to interpret, what does this mean if we have, let's say, centrality this, centrality that, density surrounding the campuses, etc. So you get kind of an insight of the current situation. Nadia, do you want to say something more about this?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to add the last point that you mentioned, that is a matter of interpretation of what does it mean to be located in this existing building in the historic core, which has different spatial characteristics than where we are currently located at Kalliporeos. So it would be nice to do a comparative discussion.
Exactly.
On the impact of the relocation.
Exactly. Very good. So these 2 exercises we thought you can work on. You can pick also one of them. Let's say if you think I like the second one better, let's start with the second one. And then if you are done, you can go to number 1. Or let's say if we meet, let's say in half an hour, some of you have done one and some of you have done two. It doesn't matter. But before I leave you to it, I have a few slides more on some of the, I mean, you got the PDF with the how-to, and it is very straightforward how to use the tool, but I still thought I will just walk you through a few of the sort of steps so that you don't get lost. So here you see the interface of the Urban Calculator. So if you have installed it, probably you have already seen it. When you start off, you have to go to File and choose New, as you see here. And then you get this window where you can choose between the non-motorized, the non-motorized and the motorized model of Nicosia. And we will choose the non-motorized. And then you open, and then you will get this, what you see in my background here. And then you see also all the layers that are embedded here. You see in red new streets, in black the existing streets. You can also remove streets, then they become very light gray. And removing is just selecting it and deleting it. New streets, I will show you how you will add them. You see the unlinks. I talked about those. Those are the green circles. You can, if you click on this one, you don't see them on the map. So if you think they are annoying, you can just let's say unselect this one. Local markets are embedded as a data set. The schools are embedded as a data set. Public transport stops. The motorized street network, as I said, let's say, although we opened the non-motorized, you can actually show on the map the motorized. It becomes a light colored, I think in gray line, just for, that can be handy for understanding, or let's say finding your way in the map. You can show that one. Then we have buildings, and we have parks and green areas that you can sort of visualize or show. Then on what is below here, which is called study areas, I talked a little bit about that already, but I will show you more. So this can be very handy, especially also now. If you do exercise 2, for instance, select the area where you have, either you can do 2 study areas for each of the campuses, or you can make one where they both fit in, but you don't include the rest of Nicosia. You always have, let's say, in this study areas window that you see here, you always have the full map. So that's by default, it's always there. So, and then on top of that, you can add with the plus, you can actually add new study areas, and you can give them a name. So city center, campus area 1, or campus areas, you just give it a name. And then it will be here, and you can, every time, you can sort of click on them, and you either see the whole or you see your study area. So if you make a new one, it's sort of, this window pops up, and you can just change the size of it in the way you think it fits your purpose. So that's very easy. Then to run the analysis is this button in the tool. And then what you get is again a pop-up, or this pop-up window. And there you see all the types of analysis that we have been discussing. Network centrality, and you see between this, you see integration on the different scales, build density, accessibility, and then further down is proximity. You can either click all of them, and all the analysis will be done, let's say, simultaneously. Or you click the one that you are most interested in. So if you only want to see between a centrality 5 kilometer and angular integration 5 kilometer, you only click on those 2, and it will only run 2 analysis, and your result will also only include then these 2 analysis. Sometimes, let's say for the sake of time, but actually it goes very fast, so that's not so important. But it's also a bit annoying if you don't need the other maps, that you always get all these maps. So just for your own sort of ease, sometimes it's let's say, if you don't need them, just don't include them. You can change the color of the maps. So if you have done the analysis, a new window pops up, And it shows immediately there is a sort of a default setting for how these maps are colored or visualized. And you see then the legend. So in this case, it's a centrality. One of the centralities, I think it's between a centrality. And the legend is that the 1% highest means that, let's say, 1% of the streets, 1% of the streets with the highest values of centrality are visualized in the thickest red color, and then it goes all the way down to the lowest. But you can change from red to blue to spectral. So those are the 3 visualizations that we have embedded. Let me see what I have more here. So that's that. Then, yes, what can be practical also if you have, because every time you make changes on your core map and you rerun the analysis, it opens up in a new window or a new tab, I should say. So you can have many of those. And then sometimes you want to have, let's say, that they all zoom in a similar way, because otherwise it's hard to compare. So what you can do is you can copy the viewport from one of these windows and apply it on the others. So that's just a very practical thing as well. Then you can export the analysis maps. So you choose from File, Export, and what you get is a PDF with all the analysis that I showed you already before. Then, yes, important to, if you want to design or just add streets or remove streets, sometimes it's practical to have a kind of a sketch or a drawing in the background. Especially you want to have it if it's a big area that you have already been sketching on, then you can actually import an illustration as a background image, and you do so by, I have to see how I did that. I think it's over here. I should have put a circle here. You see on layers, there is this button. Then you get this pop-up window, and there you can pick an image that you have, a JPEG. And then you can adjust the size, you can position it where it should be, and draw on top of it. Drawing then is using this button, the pen, and you just draw lines. It always snaps. So you cannot do it wrong. It always snaps to an existing street. So the network is always, let's say, complete, and not because otherwise there's always a risk that you think you draw it on top of the street, but actually it didn't really connect, and then the whole analysis that you will be doing will show you wrong results. That doesn't happen. It always snaps to the nearest. You can also remove streets, as I said. You just delete them. And by default, you get these unlinks. So as soon as you start drawing and you cross, actually, you can draw very long lines. If you cross other streets, it will add unlinks. Many of them can be. You can think of this as annoying, and that's completely fine if you are annoyed by that. The reason that we have done this is that we want you to be aware as a user and take sort of conscious action to remove them or keep them if it's indeed a tunnel situation. Because the risk otherwise is, if we wouldn't have done that, is that you forget about these unlinks, and they are very important to put them right. And you can actually remove them by this button here. And that goes very fast, so it's not so annoying, I can promise you. Then for the export that I talked about earlier, there's this button, then you have this pop-up window, and you can actually choose which of the analysis maps you want to put in the export. You can choose one, or as a maximum 3 maps. So it could be the existing situation, scenario 1 and scenario 2, for instance. And those then are presented as a PDF, and the maps are put side by side. So that was all. Then I actually, let's see if I can open the Urban Calculator. Here we have it. I will go here. You see my window still in my screen. So now I am in Urban Calculator. So this is the icon. In my case, I've opened it. And then the first thing you have to do is to open. And you see here, Nicosia non-motorized, motorized. You open it and then you get this map. And you can zoom out. So this is the whole model that we have. And then if we zoom in, we see, I have to put this somewhere else, sorry. We can pan here, we can go to the center. And you see we don't have buildings on the other side here, or on the Turkish side, because we didn't have the data. We can put on the water, for instance, and the green over here. We can take out the buildings. So we see the street network and the green areas. Well, it becomes very clear. We can have the local markets where they are located, the schools. See, so this is really easy to navigate. This is what I showed you already. You know, when you can add a background image, if you have a sketch or something. Here we have the study areas, and actually I prepared a few. So if I go to the city center, the linear park, my study area, or the full map. You see? And this is very, I mean, and this you should do, let's say, immediately. You have to sort of start making these study areas, because then if we export or if we make analysis, it will also have this set of study areas that you can zoom in to. And the drawing, so we can actually, if this would be repaired, we can make new connections. This is how we draw. I just click, you see it, how it snaps. You see where it snaps? It gets a small blue circle. So we can just add, repair all these broken connections, and we could rerun the analysis. You see, it's, I mean, it's very, it goes very fast. Can go, and I will also show you if I would sort of draw a long line, which can be actually, so you don't have to draw all these small lines, you can draw a long line, and you saw all these unlinks popping up. If I don't want them, I just click this button and I remove them again. And there we are. Then if we run the analysis, it was this button. And here you have this window where I can actually choose to run all of them. I click on them. So you see all of them will be running. Or I can say, no, I don't want accessibility. I don't want proximity, not build density. And I only want to see angular, centrality 5K and this one. Or maybe I will only take these 3. Then I run start. And it starts running the analysis. And a new window popped up. And you see here the results. I can go from the results for the 1 kilometer, the 2, and the 5. And if we go to the full map, you see it sort of shows you everything. The 5K. And if we now go to the linear park, it only shows you the visualizations of the linear park. We can go to the city center. You see? So this is the way to go. I think you know enough to start working a bit. Let's stop sharing. Shall I actually show you the, let me see, the exercise again. To just remind you. So exercise 1 is to work with the linear park and try to create, first you could identify, let's say, okay, how is centrality distributed along the linear park? Are there locations that already have a very sort of, that the park is not only a place to sort of relax and be in nature, but maybe also a important meeting place. So a lot of pedestrian movement passing through in both directions. Can you, and if you have, see how the current situation is, can you improve it at certain locations where it's maybe lacking, or can you boost it where it already has potential by adding new connections? So that's one exercise you could do. And the second exercise is this interpreting what are the consequences of moving the campus from this location to the old core, old center, in terms of well, navigation, having access to it, how many people or activities are already surrounding that. Sort of use the tool sort of to characterize the two different neighborhoods and what the pros and cons are.